What if I told you that the biggest barrier between you and the life you truly want is not your past, your circumstances, or your so-called limitations, but simply your mindset? What if, today, you chose to act as if you were already the best version of yourself? Not in arrogance, not in self-delusion, but in the quiet, steady power of belief. This is the Stoic way. This is where greatness begins. Welcome to a mindset that will reshape your reality. Sometimes the hardest thing in life isn't the obstacle in front of you. It's realizing that the biggest obstacle is the decision not to step up, to stay small, to wait, to hesitate. But here's the truth that most people will never tell you. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need validation. And you certainly don't need perfect timing. What you need is to decide, right now, that you are ready to act like the person you are meant to become. This is what the Stoics knew. This is what Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca lived by. They didn't wait for conditions to align. They aligned their minds with excellence and made the moment right. You become who you practice being. So the first lesson is simple. Act as if you already are the best version of yourself. Not because you've already arrived, but because that decision alone begins the transformation. Let's be clear. When we say, act as if you're the best, we're not talking about arrogance. We're not talking about ego or pretending to be flawless. We're talking about showing up each day with the discipline, focus, and presence of someone who takes life seriously. Of someone who respects their time, their craft, and their own potential. You walk into the room with purpose. You speak with clarity. You move with intention. Not because you think you're better than others, but because you've committed to being better than your past self. That's the power of this mindset. It's not about appearing perfect. It's about aligning your actions with the person you know you can be. You're not faking anything. You're just choosing to live from your higher self, even if you're still growing into it. And that choice, that daily commitment, is what separates the average from the excellent. Let's take a moment to go back to the ancient world where the Stoics walked. Epictetus was once a slave. Seneca, a statesman navigating the cutthroat politics of Rome. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire on earth. 3 men, 3 completely different paths, but one unshakable belief. That true power does not come from the outside. It comes from within. The Stoics taught that the only thing fully within your control is your own mind, your own choices, your own character. That's why they focused not on riches, fame, or external success, but on virtue, on discipline, wisdom, courage, and justice. They weren't trying to impress others. They were trying to live well, to train their minds to rise above circumstances. And this is what acting as if you're the best truly means. It means committing to excellence even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Now fast forward to today. We live in a world of distraction, of comparison, of fake confidence, and shallow validation. Social media shows us highlight reels, and we start to believe that everyone else has it figured out while we're still struggling. But that's a lie. And deep down, you know it. You see, most people wait. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they're good enough, until they have the right degree, the right job, the right body, the right relationship. But what if the Stoics were right? What if the only thing you need is to decide? What if you acted like the best version of yourself right now, not later? Imagine waking up tomorrow and moving through your day with purpose. Imagine approaching your work, your relationships, your habits, as if you already were the person you aspire to be. Not pretending, but practicing. That is freedom. When you act as if you're the best, something strange begins to happen. You start to believe it. And when belief takes root, action follows. And action? That's where transformation lives. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's consistently repeated. So when you repeat the thoughts, the behaviors, the posture, the energy of someone who's confident, strong, and grounded, you become that person. The Stoics would call this living in accordance with nature. And what is your nature? To grow, to evolve, to rise, but only if you choose it. So here's your challenge. Don't wait for the world to give you permission. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for someone to tell you you're ready. You already are. Decide. Today. Now. Act as if you are the best and begin the journey of becoming exactly that. This is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll explore why this mindset is not only powerful, but contagious, and how it reshapes the world around you. Until then, stand tall, speak with purpose, and act like your best self is already here. When you act as if you're the best, you don't just change yourself. You change your world, the energy you carry, the confidence in your voice, the way you show up to every moment intentionally. It becomes magnetic, and soon it elevates not just you, but everything and everyone around you. This isn't fantasy. This is Stoic reality, and it begins with a single choice. The Stoics believed, we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. In other words, reality isn't shaped by events, it's shaped by your interpretation of them. Your mindset becomes your lens. And when you decide to act as if you are the best version of yourself, the world starts to respond differently to you. Think about it. When you walk into a room with your shoulders back, eyes focused, your energy centered, you create a presence, not arrogance, but assuredness. And people notice. People sense when someone is grounded, when they have self-respect, when they operate from within, not from needing to prove themselves. This is why Stoics taught us to focus on inner excellence, not outer applause. You don't need to announce your worth. You embody it. Science now confirms what the Stoics intuited thousands of years ago. What you consistently think, what you repeatedly do, literally rewires your brain. So when you practice the habits of someone who is disciplined, focused, kind, and confident, your brain begins to reinforce that identity. This is not fake it till you make it. This is practice until it becomes real. Seneca said it clearly. We become brave by doing brave things. Likewise, you become excellent by practicing excellence daily. Even in the small things. The way you greet someone. The way you breathe in a stressful moment. The way you resist the urge to procrastinate and choose action instead. These are micro decisions. But together, they build a new you. There's something powerful about someone who doesn't have to say they're great. You just feel it. And when you act like your highest self, that energy radiates outward. People trust you more. Opportunities flow with less resistance. Why? Because you are living in congruence, your actions match your words, your intentions match your behavior. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Be the example. In a world of noise and empty promises, be the person who leads with integrity. Not because it's easy, but because that's who you've decided to become." Let's clear something up. When we say act as if you're the best, we don't mean better than others. We mean better than who you were yesterday. Better than the excuses you've told yourself. Better than the version of you that settles for less. This is a personal competition. You versus you. Stoicism teaches us to strive not for external ranking, but for internal excellence. You don't need trophies. You don't need applause. You need alignment between who you are and who you're becoming. And that alignment? That's where peace lives. That's where power is built. Picture this. Imagine you had to live a full day as if you were Marcus Aurelius, or Seneca, or Epictetus. What would change? Would you rise earlier? Would you take more responsibility for your time and energy? Would you meet challenges with more calm? Would you speak less, but with more clarity? Now, realize this. You don't need to imagine. You can practice. Take on the mindset of greatness, just like an actor stepping into a role, not to deceive, but to awaken the dormant excellence that already exists inside you, because it's there, always has been. Here's the hidden secret. When you raise your standard, you raise the standards around you. Your friends start thinking differently. Your family feels your growth. Your coworkers observe your consistency. You become a silent leader, one who leads not by telling, but by showing. Not by preaching, but by practicing. The Stoics believed in sympathia, the interconnectedness of all things. Your discipline, your peace, your effort, it ripples outward, even in the smallest ways. You smiling at someone today might be the thing that stops them from giving up. Your effort today might inspire someone else to try harder tomorrow. So never underestimate the power of acting like your best self. It's not just for you, it's for the world. So take a moment. Reflect. How would your life look if you simply decided to start acting as if you already were the person you're trying to become? What habits would change? What words would you speak or no longer say? What would you let go of? What would you finally begin? You don't have to wait for a sign. This is the sign. In part 3, we're going to explore the powerful idea, what if I'm not the best? And why that thought, while natural, doesn't have to limit you. Until then, keep rising, keep practicing. And remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to act as if you're already becoming who you were meant to be. Let's be honest. Sometimes, when you try to act as if you're the best, there's a little voice that shows up. It whispers, "Who do you think you are? You're not the best. You're faking it." That voice is called doubt. It's ancient, it's human, but it's not in charge unless you let it be. Today, we're going to transform that doubt into power, not by avoiding it, but by facing it like a Stoic. One of the biggest myths is this idea that being the best means being flawless. It doesn't. Brand. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote in his private journal his meditations about his failures, his regrets, his constant effort to stay on the path. This man was emperor of Rome, ruler of millions. And yet, he still questioned himself. So who are we to think we shouldn't? Doubt is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're awake. It means you care about your path, that you want to live with integrity. Perfection? That's an illusion. But progress? That's real. And that's all Stoicism ever asks of us. Let's talk about identity. Most people let the past define them. What they failed at, who left them, what someone once said. But Stoicism says, you are not your story, you are your actions. If you failed yesterday but act with strength today, then today is who you are. If you doubted this morning but showed up with courage this afternoon, then courage is your identity now. Reframe the inner narrative. When you hear that voice say, "You're not the best," you respond, "Maybe not yet, but I'm becoming it, one action at a time." Because every champion was once unknown. Every master was once an amateur. Every philosopher was once a confused student. What made the difference? They kept showing up. So must you. Nothing kills your inner greatness faster than comparison. The Stoics warned us. Do not waste time wondering what others are doing. Focus only on your own task. Because here's the truth. There will always be someone stronger, richer, smarter, faster. And that's fine. You're not here to be the best in the world. You're here to be the best for the world. You're not here to win against others. You're here to win against your own excuses, fears, and laziness. Comparison is a distraction. Discipline is the antidote. So instead of asking, "Am I better than them?" ask, "Did I get better than yesterday?" That's real progress. That's real power. Here's a tool. When you feel small, uncertain, or like a fraud, don't shrink. Instead, study that feeling. Ask it, what is it trying to teach me? Maybe it's showing you a skill you need to strengthen. Maybe it's pointing to a fear you haven't addressed. Maybe it's inviting you to grow. That discomfort is a compass. Follow it. Train with it. Turn it into fuel. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. So dare. Dare to try. Dare to keep going. Dare to be seen trying. That's what makes you powerful. Not pretending, but persevering." We often think strength means never showing weakness. But the Stoics knew better. True strength is the ability to face yourself honestly, to admit, "I don't know everything. I've made mistakes. I have fear." But then choose action anyway. That's not weakness. That's mastery. You know who's unshakable? Not the loudest in the room, not the most confident on the surface. The one who knows their flaws and still steps forward. The one who gets knocked down and still shows up. That's who you are, becoming. Not perfect, but resilient. Let's redefine the phrase. Being the best is not a title. It's not a trophy. It's not applause. It's this: showing up when you don't feel ready. Keeping your word when it's hard. Treating people with respect, even when they don't do the same. Holding yourself to a higher standard not for approval, but for honor. That is what Stoic greatness looks like. It's quiet. It's steady. It's lived day by day. And guess what? No one can give it to you. But no one can take it away either. So next time that voice says, "You're not the best," smile. Not because it's right, but because it gave you something to prove wrong. You don't need to silence doubt. You just need to outgrow it. In Part 4, we're going deeper into the Stoic blueprint of training your mind for greatness. We'll explore the practical steps to become the person you've only dreamed about. Until then, walk like your future is already real. Act like you belong in the life you desire. And remember, you don't need permission to be powerful. You just need to decide. If you've made it this far, it means one thing. You're serious. You're not just here to be inspired. You're here to transform, to rewire your mind like a Stoic warrior, to stop reacting and start commanding your reality. And that starts with training. Stoicism is not just theory. It's a practice, a daily mental discipline. Today, I'll show you how to train your mind like the Stoics trained theirs, with strength, clarity, and unshakable calm. Let's begin. Epictetus laid out 3 core disciplines. You can think of them as mental gyms. Each one strengthens a different part of your inner world. The discipline of desire, learning to want what is rather than chasing what isn't. The discipline of action, taking right, just, courageous steps in the face of chaos. The discipline of assent, learning to control your thoughts, not believe every one of them. These are your tools. Ignore them, and life controls you. Train them, and you control life. Let's break each one down. Section 2. Discipline of desire, wanting what is. Most people suffer because they want reality to be different. Different job, different partner, different body, different past. But Stoicism flips this. Instead of trying to bend life to your desire, you train your desire to match reality. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." What does this mean practically? Every morning, pause and ask, what am I resisting right now? Maybe it's a delay, a breakup, an injury, a betrayal. Then reframe it. This is not an obstacle. This is the path. That single shift from resistance to acceptance, that's real power. Not passive acceptance, but active alignment with what is, so you can move forward. Now comes the second gym, action. This is where most people fail. They have good ideas, but they never act. They overthink, they wait, they hesitate. But a Stoic doesn't live in delay. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." So act, even if you're unsure, even if it's messy, even if you fail. Show up anyway. When you feel fear, move. When you feel anger, pause, then move with purpose. When you feel tired, do the minimum, but do something. Action is how you rewire your brain. It tells your body, we are no longer frozen, we are becoming. It's not the perfect action that matters. It's the consistent one. So keep showing up. That's how you build your future. Here's where it gets deep. Every thought you have isn't true. But your brain doesn't know that. It treats every thought like a command, unless you step in. This is the discipline of assent, the art of saying yes or no to your own thoughts. A Stoic mind examines what arises. I'm not good enough. To is that true, or just a memory from childhood? This is the worst day ever. To is it really? Or are you magnifying a moment? Epictetus taught, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. Your thoughts are proposals, not orders. You can reject them. Practice this. When a negative thought hits, don't react. Label it. Observe it. Then choose your response like a master sculptor shaping stone. That is Stoic control. Not over life, but over yourself. So how do you live this daily? Here's a simple Stoic training regimen. Morning, 5 minutes. Reflect. What might challenge me today? Intend. How will I respond like a philosopher? Midday, 1 minute. Pause. Breathe. Recenter. Ask, am I reacting or choosing? Evening, 10 minutes. Journal. What did I do well? Where did I slip? Forgive. Adjust. Prepare for tomorrow. You don't need to meditate on a mountain. You just need to live consciously. These small daily practices turn into habits. Habits turn into character. Character becomes destiny. Here's the final truth. It's not what you do once that matters. It's what you do every day, especially when you don't feel like it. The Stoic doesn't seek motivation. They build momentum. You may miss a day. You may fail again. You may forget your power. But then you return. You train again. You recommit. That's what makes you great. You become what you practice. So, practice discipline. Practice peace. Practice truth. Practice effort. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. So ask yourself, am I training my mind every day? Or am I just hoping for change? Because transformation is not magic. It's not fate. It's training. In part 5, we'll explore how to lead without trying, Stoic leadership by example, the secret of becoming the kind of person others respect without ever asking for it. Until then, keep practicing, keep showing up, keep becoming. So far, you've learned how to build strength from silence, how to train your desire, discipline your actions, and examine your thoughts. But now we arrive at something rare, true leadership. Not the loud kind, not the watch me performance, but the kind of presence that makes others grow simply by being around you. Stoic leadership is not about control. It's about character and the quiet magnetism that forms when a person lives in full alignment with their values. This is leadership without trying, the kind that earns respect without asking for it. Let's begin. Stoic leadership doesn't begin with others. It begins with you. Not titles, not applause, not followers. It starts in your room, in your decisions, in the way you treat yourself when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, yet he wrote not to the people, but to himself. In his private journal, he asked, "Am I fulfilling the role nature has given me? Am I being just, honest, rational?" He wasn't focused on how many people followed him. He focused on how many impulses he resisted. That's Stoic leadership, being a master of your own mind before you even think about leading others. Here's the truth most don't want to hear. People don't follow your words. They follow your energy, your actions, your alignment. When you speak about patience but explode at traffic, when you promote honesty but lie to yourself, when you claim calm but radiate chaos, people feel the difference. But when your actions match your values, you emit something rare. You become grounded, trustworthy, magnetic. You lead, not by force, but by example. So here's your question. What's one value you deeply believe in that you haven't fully embodied yet? Write it down. And today, begin the work of becoming it. A Stoic leader doesn't chase applause. They don't shape-shift for approval. They don't need recognition to feel valuable. Why? Because they've already validated themselves internally. Seneca said, "He who seeks only applause from others has not yet found peace within." Leadership is not performance. It's presence. Ask yourself, would I still act this way if no one noticed? If the answer is yes, you are leading. If the answer is no, you are performing. Stoic leadership is being anchored in truth, even if no one claps. Because you don't need applause. You need peace. Here's a secret. Your calm is more influential than your advice. In any group, the calmest person becomes the stabilizer. When others panic, they look to the one who isn't. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to preach. Just be composed. Breathe. Choose stillness. In moments of chaos, you become the emotional anchor. That's real leadership. It doesn't shout, it grounds. You've seen it. The person in the room who says little, but when they do speak, everyone listens. That's not charisma. That's practiced stillness. And anyone can build it. A Stoic leader listens more than they speak, observes more than they judge, responds only when it's useful, not when it's ego. This is a superpower. In meetings, in conflict, in relationships, most people react. A Stoic leader reflects, then responds with intention. Because when you don't need to prove your intelligence, you become wise. When you don't rush to speak, your words gain weight. When you don't dominate, you elevate. So, next time you feel the urge to interrupt, prove, or control, pause. Ask, is this for truth? Or is this for ego? If it's ego, stay silent and let your restraint do the talking. Leadership is not a moment. It's a pattern. Everything you say, every time you show up on time, every time you hold yourself to your values, you leave a mark. Your children, your coworkers, your friends, even strangers, they're watching how you live, not to judge, but to learn what's possible. So when you master yourself, you become a walking permission slip for others to rise. You say with your presence, you don't have to chase. You don't have to beg. You don't have to perform. You just have to be. And that's when others begin to follow. Not because you told them to, but because they can feel you've become something rare. A leader. Without trying. You don't need a title. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be in alignment. That's the kind of leader the world needs. Not louder voices, but deeper souls. In part 6, we close with the final and most essential Stoic virtue. Live as if you already are, embodying your higher self daily. This is where theory becomes being. Until then, stand tall, lead softly, and stay true. Here we are. The final part of this journey. You've learned to master your mind, guide your energy, lead without trying. Now, we come to the most powerful teaching of all. Embodying your higher self. Not someday, not when you're ready, but now. Stoicism is not a theory you memorize. It's a truth you live. Every single day. The final principle is simple, yet it will change everything about how you move through this life. Act as if you already are the person you're meant to be. Let's begin. Imagine this. What if you stopped waiting for confidence to arrive? What if you stopped negotiating with fear? What if you stopped seeking permission to become your highest version? What if you simply acted like you already were? This isn't delusion. It's alignment. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one," he wasn't just being poetic. He was telling you the shortcut to becoming powerful. Stop planning. Stop dreaming. Stop hesitating. Just begin. Do what your highest self would do. Today, right now. Here's a Stoic truth most never hear. Your identity is not fixed. It's a practice. Every time you make a choice, you are rehearsing who you are becoming. When you wake up and go for a run instead of snoozing, you are practicing discipline. When you forgive instead of rage, you are practicing compassion. When you speak honestly, even when it's hard, you are practicing courage. You don't need to find yourself. You need to forge yourself. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's not just advice. That's identity alchemy. You are not just responsible for who you are today. You are responsible for who you are becoming. Think of your future self, the one who is wise, calm, grounded, free. What would they thank you for doing today? What would they beg you to stop? What habit? What relationship? What fear do they hope you finally let go of? Be their guardian. Make decisions for them. Because when you live as if you are already them, you become them. Not by force, but by embodiment. Want a tool you can use today? Create a ritual called As If Living. Here's how. Every morning, ask yourself, if I were already the best version of myself, how would I think today? How would I walk, speak, focus, eat, love, rest, lead? Then live that way, just for today. No pressure to be perfect. Just practice. You'll feel resistance. Old patterns will whisper, "You're not there yet. Who are you pretending to be?" But you're not pretending. You're activating. You're rehearsing a deeper truth that's already inside you. And over time, this ritual becomes your reality. When you live from your higher self, you do more than elevate yourself. You elevate everyone around you. Your calm helps others feel safe. Your clarity helps others see. Your discipline gives others permission to rise. The Stoics knew that virtue is contagious, not by preaching, but by being. You don't need to teach people how to live. You just need to show them. And your example becomes a lighthouse, not because it shouts, but because it shines. So ask yourself, what would the light version of me do today? Do that, even if it's quiet, even if it's hard, especially then. The final paradox of Stoicism is this: you are already enough, and you must still grow. Not from self-loathing, not from shame, but from reverence. Because your life is a rare opportunity. You could waste it in distraction, or you could honor it with daily excellence. This is not pressure. This is privilege. To walk into each day, not as a victim, not as an imposter, but as a participant in your own greatness. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And here it is. You become the best version of yourself by living like they already exist. Right now, today, in this breath. This is how you win life the Stoic way. Not by noise, but by presence. Not by pretending, but by practicing. So go now. Act as if you already are. Because you are. The best version of you has been waiting. And today, you came home to it.